freaking go, PHL Nation. I understand we want to look ahead to the future. I understand that LSU would have been in the SEC championship game had we took care of the Florida Gators. But with all that said, let's celebrate what tonight was, which was an ass-kicking of the Oklahoma Sooners. LSU marched back after the Garrett Nussmeier injury. Let's show Garrett Nussmeier a ton of love for fighting through pain and showing the world why he's such a big-time quarterback for LSU. Now, was he a turnover back at the beginning of the game? Yes, absolutely. Did Brian Kelly have some patent in-game clock itch mistake? Yes, he did. And there were some weird moments of game management that we will get into tonight. That happened in the second half when we pull away. But the bottom line is our best players played their best tonight. And versus a bad team, and Oklahoma is a bad team, if our best players play their best, we will win. With Weeks played at a high level, 15 tackles. Outside of the injury that Garrett Nussmeier suffered where Will Campbell got beat off the edge, offensive line was pretty good tonight. Did we get the DJ Chess pre-snap penalty? You betcha we did. But it happened in the second half when the game was over. I thought he did some good things tonight. Obviously, the offensive breakout star was Chris Hilton about tonight. He took some of Brian Kelly's coaching and didn't jump too early, scoring 2 touchdowns on 2 catches. That is what we call efficiency. I know Flo was really happy about that. But with all of that said, the big story is the SEC championship. If LSU had beaten Florida, they were in the SEC championship game. There are a lot of you that are wondering, how come we get our ass kicked by Alabama, who got their ass kicked by Oklahoma, and we end up ass kicking Oklahoma? And there's all this woulda, coulda, shoulda, and we should have been in the SEC championship game. This is what I would bet. First off, once again, celebrate what it was, another victory for LSU. The last 2 games I attended just happened to be the only 2 games where we ass-kicked a team start to finish. LSU versus Oklahoma, LSU versus Arkansas. So maybe I didn't go to every game. Maybe I'm the problem. But what I would say to each and every one that is wondering, if we would have beaten Florida, we would have been in the SEC championship game. Well, ask yourself, is this team really an SEC championship game worthy team? And the answer to that is no. If you want to do that game, then South Carolina would basically be saying, well, if we didn't blindside Garrett Nussmeier, we would be in the SEC championship game. We'd be a lock for the playoff. And then Ole Miss would say, well, if we didn't choke the game away versus LSU, we would be in the SEC championship game. Y'all, we can't woulda, coulda, shoulda until the end of time. The bottom line is, were we a good enough team to go to the SEC championship game? No. But what I will say is Brian Kelly in the post-game press conference, we will get to his comments a little bit later. He is talking a big game. He is saying you are going to be shocked at who we're going to be bringing back next season. You're going to be shocked at how many good players will be returning to next year's team. So as much as tonight was about tonight, what I don't think needs to happen is us looking to the past. And when I say looking to the past, is looking to the immediate past. Because honestly, we're not an SEC championship game worthy team. There's a reason we lost to Florida. There's a reason we lost to SC. There's a reason we crumbled versus Texas A&M. Because as good as we were tonight, overall, we're not really that good. I want to focus on the season. I want to focus on what happened tonight. LSU, consecutive SEC game over 6 yards per play offensively, which is pretty impressive considering we didn't have Garrett for those 5-ish snaps. Also, we had a bunch of really positive true freshman performances. Dominic McKinley, 2 sacks tonight. Devon Keys, double-digit tackles. Some young guys step up. It looked like there are building blocks for what we could potentially do next season. So I understand we need to turn the page, get our signatures ready for the early signing, get ready potentially for DJ Pickett to sign. Hopefully, Jakeem Thanos, who didn't visit anywhere, decides to sign. We'll turn the page quickly from this game. In the grand things, it really doesn't matter. 4 losses, we're not going to get to a 10-win season. But I am happy we won the game. And I was very happy I decided to attend the game tonight. And I want to shout out the Rivalry of Baton Rouge. They hosted me earlier today. Had meetings with them. They stepped for the halftime show today. So that was a lot of fun. And I want to shout out Brew Coffee. I met with them today. I love 7 Brew Coffee. And I want to shout out everyone that stopped me today. I never take it for granted. I really, really, really don't. And I don't say that, oh, look, I'm getting stopped. It's 1 out of every, 500 people that walk by me. If not more, probably 1 out of every 1,000, if we're being honest. And in the half show, I was blitzed. I cover up pretty quickly. Am I still a little bit like after the Arkansas game? Yes. But the bottom line is games that SEC I attend, we win. And not only do we win by 3 scores. So let's go to Ryan's first super chat of the night. Great night. Proud of Nuss for in the game. I was hard on him a few weeks back, and I'm sorry for that. You shouldn't be sorry for that. Okay? Look. Big reason why we won tonight is Oklahoma's not a good football team. Look harder. How did they beat Oklahoma, or how did they beat Alabama? Well, go watch the game. Jalen Milroe threw the game away. 2 first pick sixes. One was a pick 6. The other was eventually turned into a touchdown by it turned inside the red zone. And there were bad calls against Alabama. And Oklahoma needed that 6th win to get bowl eligibility. Oklahoma's not a good team. Me and my cousin sat next to quite a few Oklahoma fans, and they're essentially saying the same thing. We're not that good of a football team this year. So a lot tonight had to do with playing an offense and a quarterback who's overwhelmed. But this is what I would say again. Tiger Stadium, and I'm not just saying this because I was in Tiger Stadium and I was the ones yelling tonight and cheering tonight for my dear beloved LSU Tigers. The truth is Tiger Stadium is a difference. It's a difference. Well, what happened in the Alabama game? Could have known Reed. Tiger Stadium is a difference. Okay. So, crowd was good tonight. Obviously, in the section, there were some empty spots up there. And going to my first home game of the season, there is to be said about the in-game experience that I want to share. The new light show was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And I do feel the Tiger Stadium experience was taken to another level from last year, where I went to multiple games. I went to 3 home games last year, to this year, where I went to 1. It was really fun tonight. Was camp as lit as it normally is? No. It was still really good. Still really freaking good. Oh, the stream choppy. Let me do this really quickly. Go here. My internet speed said it's fine. Okay. I don't know why. I guess my postgame show did better than my halftime show did better than this. Huh? Let me go to this. Do this. I want to do a post game tonight. I'm ready to get litty. I did say I was going to chug one of these bourbons. I'm not going to chug it. Let's go to this. Okay. In my debugger, I just did a download bit rate 220 points. The upload is slow. That's on me, I guess. That is interesting. It's all good. I trust you. I did a speed test earlier today. Everything went good. Chopped and screwed. Let's go, JT. That's on me. That's on me. I honestly did an upload test, and it was ridiculously fast. I'm looking at it right now. Your internet connection is very fast. So my apologies. I should go back to Tiger Stadium and do it. Let's go to Rivalry. And this is going to be the big question, and this goes on with your super chat. Will Garrett NUSSMEIER come back next season? That's a question that quite a few people are wondering. I will tell you, both sides of the equation need to really think about it. Okay? They really, really, really do. The first part of this that I think is very important. Okay? And I really do this when it comes to Nuss is, what does Garrett want to do? Does he want to go to the NFL? I don't think he wants to go to the NFL. I don't think so. I think he wants to play another season of college football. That he should. But what does LSU want to do? I think the bigger question would be, who do they want offensive coordinator to be? That's the bigger question. Do you want to run it back with Joe Sloan? Is that what you want to do? Is that what you want to do? I don't know if that's what I would do. I think LSU at this point needs to head in a different direction. But at the same time, I don't think necessarily that LSU is a spot where they are going to get a quarterback who is better than Garrett in the transfer portal. All right. So I'm going to try and fix this live stream. But first, let's hear from Coach Brian Kelly. Going a little bit earlier, see what happens to the audio here. It is the PHL show.
My team, last 2 weeks, they listened to the narratives out there that they weren't excited to play for anything, that the season was over. And they simply went out and played inspired football the last 2 weeks. They put, consistent performance together over the last 2 weeks. And really proud of the performance. They played well in Vanderbilt and they played well against Oklahoma. Both those teams beat a team in Alabama that we lost to. So really proud of our football team, the way they prepared this week. And, they're 19. This team is just 19-2 at home. So, whatever camp you want to, go right ahead. We had 5 freshmen and 2 sophomores on defense today, playing the tails off. So, we're taking leads, and we'll see you at the national championship. This team's building. We're excited about them, and we really we're really proud of them. So with that, we'll open up the questions.
Coach Frank Kelly.
Yes.
Garrett Nussmeier goes out with an injury, comes back, shows a lot of grit and toughness. What do you see from him, especially back after that injury?
Grit and toughness, look, what you want as a coach is you want them to resemble, the traits that you think championship teams should have. And at times you've got to have some grit and resolve, like, talked about in the manner that they have been over the past, 2-3 weeks. You want them to buckle down and bite on their chin, their mouth, and go out there and play. And that's what they did. And that's what he did. Listen, that's an easy tap out for most people, right? That's an easy one to say, I'm coming back. But that's the kind of player he is. That's the kind of competitor he is.
Coach, with Chris Hilton, did it just feel like a performance was sort of coming for him, and what sort of allowed him to be successful today?
Well, I think we've talked about this all year, that the deep threat has been missing from our offense, and it's been difficult. Teams have sat down on us. Teams have made it difficult for us because we had. He was out 8 weeks, and it takes.
It should work. Let's see. All right. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you can hear me loud and clear. Let's see. This might be a little bit better. We might just go mobile here. Okay. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Once again, my apologies. All right, good. We'll just go mobile. Or trust me, we tested it. I tested it 1,000 times. And I will show you right here. I know nobody cares, but take a look. It says 220.7. Okay. So there we go. Not too worried about it, though, because here we are. I still able to see my chat over here. Now, next thing. LSU yards per play. We held them to 4.7 yards per play. Okay. That's obviously a lot better than what we've done in past defensive performances. I cannot state enough, though, that this was by far the worst SEC offense that we have played up to this point in the season. And guess what? That's just that simple. I do think it was opponent base. We still saw the QB run game not really be stopped. I was a little shocked by some of the things that Oklahoma did early in this game. Jackson Arnold, 17 carries for 75 yards. And then you take a look at the pass game. This was the worst group of wide receivers we have ever seen in the SEC. Any level, any team. Doesn't matter how bad they are. This was the worst team of wide receivers. And I don't think that is arguable at this point. Now, with that said, Zay Alexander, Sage Ryan, good game. Major Burns, of course, fell on the deep pass completion. Sometimes you fall, but not too shocking, okay? Next thing. Good game from the LSU corners overall. Zay, Ashton, everyone who went out there. Good game. Obviously a favorable matchup. And Whit Weeks was phenomenal. Again, all right? I mean, it's just been the case all season. Now, he's had some tough games versus the zone read teams, but it was another great game from him. It really was. And then Braden Swinson, of course, did Braden Swinson things. Let's go to Ry's second super chat of the night. Chris Hilton looked fast tonight and did his thing. Hopefully next year for him as well. All right, so let's talk about Chris Hilton, okay? Second consecutive season that he ends the year very strongly. Okay, so last year, of course, his best game was Wisconsin. This year, his best game, Texas A&M. We'll see if he decides to play in the bowl game or if he decides to go to the NFL. or he decides to enter the portal and go somewhere else. I do think LSU really wants Chris Hilton back. All right. I don't think the disdain for Chris and Brian Kelly really exists. We did a Patreon not too long ago, and Chris's parents are mostly, I've met them before, they are mostly happy with Chris at LSU. All right, this is where he always wanted to be. And then on top of that, I think this is important to add into this conversation with Hilton's decision, is he likes being here. He's from Zachary. Also, he is a guy who is allegedly currently dating Flau'jae Johnson. So the thing that LSU needs to ask themselves is, do they trust Chris Hilton to be an alpha? I think at this point we could trust Aaron Anderson to be something. I don't think Aaron Anderson has that big of an NFL market. I do think Kyron Lacy could come back next season. I doubt that. I think Kyron Lacy is going to go. But Brian Kelly did say in the postgame press conference a little bit that you just heard a minute ago that he will tell you that it is shocking. You are going to be shocked at some of the guys that we're bringing back next season. So that excites me. Okay. Let's go to Cliff, who's here. He's actually going to be on the live stream here in a second. If Chris comes back, is he the wide receiver one? Yes and no. I mean, Aaron Anderson will be the wide receiver one next season. He was basically this year as well. One catch for 6 yards for A, but of course you have to kick off return. I think one thing that's interesting, I wasn't able to listen to the end of the Brian Kelly press conference, but I'm not seeing this tweeted out either. And let me know if you guys saw this in the Brian Kelly press conference. Obviously, I cut it short because our internet isn't cooperating. Why did they switch Javion Thomas out for Aaron Anderson? That decision ended up being very profitable. But the guy who made that play was Josh Williams. As great as Aaron's kickoff return was, Josh Williams' block is one of the best kickoff return blocks I have ever seen. Okay? Let's go to Sacco, excuse me. I was at the natatorium today. Sacco says, Carter, now that the regular season is done, rank our top 3 best games of the season. So Arkansas is number 1. I think that was the best team that we played a 4-quarter game against. And then obviously this would be number 2. And then number 3 would have to be Ole Miss. Okay. So there you go. Jeff B says, Coach said Xavier was injured. Okay, there you go. But yeah, for me, I think most people would view it the same way. I mean, Ole Miss was clearly the best team that we beat this year. I think clearly South Carolina turned out to be pretty good. But, I think that would be the order of those. And then after that, I would say our best half of football would be what we put on the road in Kyle Field being up 17-7. And look, I think that's where we lost our season. Yeah, I mean, that's all there is to it. Okay, but I think if I were to order them, I think Ole Miss is still the best team in the SEC. They're not going to get into the playoff. I think South Carolina will jump them if it does come down to that. But Ole Miss number 3. South Carolina was on the road, though, so that would probably have to be number 3. I do think the South Carolina game was luckier for us to win. Okay? Let's go to Ron. He says, can I make a bold prediction? Emory Jones is one of the shock players to come back next season. Will Campbell go to left tackle? Emory Jones go to right? What's interesting is, could I see a world where Will Campbell comes back next season? I can. He's not going to be the first offensive tackle selected. I think that will be Kelvin Banks at Texas. I'm not sure Will's going to be the second offensive tackle selected. Then on top of that, Will's familiar with Andrew Whitworth's legacy being a 4-year starter at left tackle. Maybe Will wants to fulfill that legacy like Andrew Whitworth and Saron Black. So, we'll see. We'll see. But look, I will also say this. If you are worried about LSU's transfer portal spending next season, look, I will tell you that LSU needs to return as many players as they possibly can if you're worried about the transfer portal spending. If you're worried that we won't spend enough and get the guys that we need to get, or if we get, outbid for players, then you need some of these key players to come back. We do. We just need them. Okay, let's take a look at let's take a look at the poll. Aaron Anderson winning game MVP 37%. That was such a big kickoff return in this game. So there you go. Did Lance Hurd do good enough to return a left tackle? I don't know. Now, let's go to Jordan Haddad, who sent a Venmo here. Pops up on my screen. When it comes to Garrett Nussmeier, Jordan wants to know who are some transfer portal quarterbacks if Garrett decides to leave that we could go after. One name that's going to be thrown around is Darian Mensah of Tulane, who had a really good freshman quarterback season for him and obviously brings a running element to the table here. Do I think Mensah's pretty good? I do. Is he an interesting quarterback for SEC level play? I do. But I would also tell you that he also played this Oklahoma team earlier this season. And even though it was so early in the season, it wasn't his best game. One of the biggest touchdowns thrown in that game was actually by the backup. But I do like Mensah a lot. I do think at this point, if we were to put a percentage chance, this is mostly speculation. This is not really too much inside information here. I would put Garrett's chances of being the quarterback next season for LSU at probably a 2-3 chance. I would say probably a 65% chance. But once again, that's about where we are at this point. But as good as Garrett was to close this game, there's just so many of these games with these back-breaking turnovers. So you didn't have the game versus Vanderbilt where there were any turnovers, obviously. But then, when you look at this game as a whole, I'm actually going to move this over here. When you look at this game as a whole, I don't think the Vanderbilt game was as good as Pro Football Focus graded Garrett as the highest graded player. I thought it was an okay game. I really do. The problem for me, taking anything too strongly away from Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, is that neither of these teams are really all that great, right? I can make a case that the final two SEC teams that we played were the two least talented teams that we played all season. Now, once again, Oklahoma is very loaded on defense. They are very loaded. They have one really good end, one really good DT. I think Dominic Williams probably would have preferred to be on the other sideline tonight. Have a really good safety in Bowman. But this Oklahoma team is putrid. Putrid. Does that mean we shouldn't celebrate? No, we should celebrate. They beat Alabama by 3 scores. Okay. Let's keep it going. The Master Blaster. Let's go. Let's go to Alex. He says, it seems like Will Campbell gets beat clean at least once a game. I mean, maybe. When you have a lot of protections where he doesn't get much help, that's going to happen. Also, tonight, I understand this sounds like an everyday occurrence on this channel, but Mason Taylor, 3 catches, 28 yards. This was another good Mason Taylor game. You know, when A.J. Swan was in the game and we had the huge run from Caden Durham, 50 of his 80 yards should go to Mason Taylor. He made the big block to spring it. And as exciting as it was to see Kamarion Pimpton, this will be a huge, confidence boost for him in this game. Mason Taylor, if he decides to come back, would be so massive. It would be so massive. So the question would be, is Mason Taylor the number 1 tight end coming off the board in this year's NFL draft? No, probably not. I mean, Colston Loveland at Michigan is probably number 1. Then, outside of Loveland, it might be Gunnar Helm of Texas. Okay? It might be. Thank you so much, Yusha, for your super chat. Jordan, if you want to get another question in, let me know. We'll keep it going. Rara says, I'm Canadian, but happy Thanksgiving, my USA friends. Harold Fannin. Does he go ahead of Mason Taylor? He's a better receiver than Mason Taylor. I don't know if he's a better blocker. I've not really watched him as a blocker, but as a receiver, yeah, he clears everybody in this draft. I don't know how he is as a blocker, though. Tyler Warren, is that the tight end that was offered today? Where's number 0 for a green team? Or was offered yesterday? I don't know. Shamor says we're about to spin that bag. Well, I hope so. We need to. Now, let me ask you this. And this is an honest question. All right. Do you think LSU would have beaten Texas in the SEC championship game? Now, if you're just not joining us, I've already said that we don't deserve to be in the SEC championship game. We don't need the woulda, coulda, shoulda, because let's just say we beat Florida. We would have gotten into the SEC championship game by backing into it thanks to a really stupid tiebreaker rule. Okay? But let me ask you this. Do you really think LSU would have beat Texas in the SEC championship game? Okay? Let me know. I'll give you my answer after this from Zion Imaging.
Book your 360 spin booth experience today with Zion Imaging. Yes, that's my buddy Jaron Thomas who started this venture years ago. And look at the smiles on these faces. This state-of-the-art photo booth is so incredible. I work in the wedding and event industry, and anytime I see a 360 photo booth, it takes your event, whether it's a reunion, a wedding, a conference, no matter what it is, it takes it to another level. Give them a follow on Facebook. Book them today. There is a special deal going on now where you can get up to 40% off. This is all the info. Give them a call today, 318-469-4265, or go to Zion Imaging. That's XYAN imaging.com. Dental, you have got to maintain dental. Dental health is wealth, and our friends at Sequoia Dental are looking to help you feel like a more confident person. Dr. William Wilson and his team of experts do everything in their power to make this experience for you not only comfortable, but fun. Yes, take a look at this after and before photo. That guy definitely got himself a date thanks to Sequoia Dental. From teeth whitening to cosmetic surgery to, guess what? Botox. Yes, they do Botox. Call my friend Dr. William Wilson today, or just go book your appointment at sequoiadental.com.
I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important.
My favorite thing is sports cards. When I'm not on YouTube, I am building my collection. And when I started, I wish there was a sports card strategy show.
He wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick before all this Heisman buzz. Now they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Paul Hickey and the team at nooffseason.com personally helped build my Jaden Daniels collection, and they're looking to do the same for you. Just check them out on social media or nooffseason.com.
Yeah, so I think LSU would have given Texas a game. I do. All right. But we were in that same Kyle Field and blew a 17-7 lead. We did not do enough to find ways to win enough games this year. And we honestly just didn't play well enough in games, right? I think there are 3 games this season where you can point and say LSU was a dominant team in SEC play. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Arkansas. All right, those are also the 3 worst teams we played this year. Now, the other wins had some good fortune. Nothing wrong with that. But, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, we are all this and that just because, we happen to find ways to win those games. Okay. Would Arch have run all over us? Yeah, Sark would have known to do zone read. I'm still shocked that Oklahoma waited so long to do a zone read pull with Jackson Arnold. It's like they did not watch film leading into this game. Okay? Now, like we always do, we take a look at the yard per play differential in this game. They averaged 4.7. We averaged 6.3. A 1.5 yard per play differential is huge. Okay. Now, something else that's interesting. LSU 63 plays, Oklahoma 59 plays. Our defense has been in a lot of games where they've not played a lot of plays. Time of possession pretty equal, and that's going to happen in a game where you have a kickoff return and the other team has a pick six. Time of possessions can get weird when those things happen. And then, of course, we had the quarterback change that we had to make. So, the total stats can be skewed all you want. But where LSU has actually been fine overall this season is 3rd down and 4th down conversion. So 6 of 15 on 3rd down isn't really all that great. But you factor in the 4th down conversions, we were 2 of 2. So combined, had to have it first downs, we were 8 of 17 tonight. That's fine. That's good enough to win. It really is. And Garrett Nussmeier overall, 22 of 31, 277, 3 tutties, no picks, 71% completion percentage. It was another solid Nuss night. Okay? Now, let's talk about a few things as we get ready for the SEC moving forward and as we get ready for whichever bowl game we decide to go to. All right. This is the last game. And while I have a good chunk of you, it says I have 218 people in here. It's tough for me to see in total. I want to say thank you. Another full season of doing this. I never in my wildest dreams thought that this was possible. And honestly, I didn't. I'll be honest. It just something that never really registered. I thought I would always do something in sports media. Never did I think it would be my own thing, which is fine. You know, I still want to do ESPN and all the stuff like that. And you could always dream. I watched Cole Kubelik walk in the sideline. I was like, I wish I was him. But I understand, you know, the signing period is going to be everything here in a few days. But damn it, games are fun. And I saw this in our Discord community. Once again, if you sign up for the PHL Patreon tonight, I will have your first month covered. Okay? But I want this to be clear. This offseason is going to suck. It's going to be the same offseason we have had over the last couple of seasons. Will we finally win a season opener? But the truth is, the next week is the single most important week in college football. Even more so than the national championship game. I'm serious. Because there's multiple things at play. Obviously, you have some teams getting ready for the SEC championship game or conference championship games. You have Heisman Trophy voters trying to decide who's going to win. You have all kinds of award show voters. We have to figure out the playoff picture. But the biggest thing is the early signing period. It's the one thing that everyone has to deal with. And the most brutal thing about these long off seasons, and the most brutal thing about this game, is with the early signing period coming in just a few days, we're already turning the page here in 4 days. It's true. Does LSU find a high school quarterback? Who decides to enter the portal? Who do we sign? What does the revenue sharing look like next season? Do we have to lower our scholarship counts? Do we have to lower our team roster totals? Do we have to process and cut guys? What if there are guys that want to stick around and they're good locker room guys, but we have to process them for roster space? All those things come into play. And that's the brutal nature of college football. It is the one sport where you have the fewest amount of games and by far the biggest amount of off-the-field transactions and stories. So the thing that we love the most, which are the games, are far outweighed by the roster movement. And I don't like that. So, look, as much as all of that is exciting, will DJ Pickett sign? Will Thanos sign? Whoever will sign. Understand that every player that signs is taking up a slot that can go to somebody else. Okay? Now, like we always do in the post-game press conference or the post-game that we do, let's go to the super chats. Let's get to some of your comments. But we'll also take a look at the rest of college football. Let's go to Rivalry. Harold Perkins Jr. return percentage. I don't know, Rivalry. It's tough. Because here's the weird thing about some of the players that LSU has to make decisions about. And those players have to make decisions. LSU's got quite a few players that are good. Okay? You could talk all you want about Harold Perkins being out of position. But what do we know? We know for sure he's good, right? We know at the bare minimum he is a good football player. I don't think any one of us would disagree with that. The same could be said about Garrett Nussmeier. The same could be said about a guy like Miles Frazier. The same could be said about a guy like Chris Hilton. But the question you have to answer is, how good are those guys? How good are those guys for you to run it back with them in key positions? So we are going into this next season. Okay, we're going into this next season asking ourselves this question. Can we trust a guy like Chris Hilton to do what he did tonight next year? Could we trust him to be healthy? Y'all, let me ask you this. Where does Harold Perkins fit in the Blake Baker defense? If you want to bring him back, where does he fit? And in whichever role that he fits in, if he does decide to come back, does he fully buy into that role? Because I think one problem for Harold Perkins is he still doesn't know where he best fits. I'm sure there's a piece of him in the back of his mind saying, maybe I'm a running back. Maybe I'm a safety. Maybe I'm an edge rusher. Does LSU want to run it back with him as an off-ball linebacker? It's tough to say. I almost clicked my Whit Weeks. My AJ Swan film study. I almost clicked the Whit Weeks one too. Michael, I appreciate you, man. Top super chatter thus far. Let's go to Brian. He says, interior offensive line is where everything hinged wrong in 2024. True. Up to a point. For us to say it is everything that hinged wrong for LSU is misleading. It's not everything. Okay. Let me ask you this. If I would have told you going into this season that Caleb Jackson would be in a spot where he wouldn't play at all towards the end of the season, would you have believed me? Just answer that question honestly. Would you have believed me that Caleb Jackson wouldn't even be thought of on this roster? It's weird. Is it weird? It is weird. So, as critical as I was about DJ Chester this season and not having Garrett Dellinger and Paul Mbenga having to step in. By the way, Mbenga did some good things tonight. As critical as I was of that, number one, it was never personal. It was on Brian Kelly and Brad Davis. And number two, and I like both those guys. You guys know that. Number two, it's not everything, right? You know, one of the biggest mysteries of this year is, and maybe this actually helps LSU in the long run, CJ Daniels never caught a touchdown. Do you think CJ Daniels, knowing that he should have had 4 touchdowns, and objectively that's true, he should have had at least 3, at the very bare bottom, 3. How is it that this season CJ Daniels didn't have a touchdown? Why did it take until tonight for our deep ball accuracy to be a thing? So trust me, it's honestly not everything that was wrong. Okay. Do I think it was one of the bigger things, the interior of the offense on? Yeah, I do. But Hitman says Perk is an edge. Perk to safety. LA Mom says, I'd love to see Perk as a running back. So this is a problem. Okay, this is the honest problem. Perk to safety. LA Mom, Perk as a running back. Perk to edge. See how hard this is? Tell me this. Name an LSU player where this has ever happened. Honestly, tell me. And then name an LSU player where this has ever happened. It's happened once. And that was Russell Shepard. That was it. And that was on the offensive side of the football. Okay? And there was a lot of similarities. Both were 5-star recruits. Both are from the state of Texas. All those things. Okay? Now, let's go to Guitar George. I hate that the SEC has taken the rivalry week away from LSU. We went from Tulane to Arkansas to whoever you. All right, so did I have, and ironically, I don't have a lot of followers on X, but I've had quite a few viral tweets recently. I don't care. I don't get any money from it. You know, I think Twitter actually kind of limits me because I love the site so much and I, don't make really anything off of it. But I've spoken to quite a few Oklahoma and Missouri fans. Oklahoma and Missouri want to play each other every year. And what is it? The Battle of the Golden Pipe is their rivalry game. That rivalry game had been missing for a while now since, Missouri went to the SEC. They would prefer to play each other on rivalry week. Arkansas would prefer to play LSU. LSU doesn't give a shit. It's just that simple. LSU does not give a shit. Okay. LSU would prefer anything. It really isn't that big a deal. But LSU and Tulane on rivalry week does not make sense because they would be the only SEC team on rivalry week playing Tulane, who is not a Power 4 team. Okay. And what I think we have done is we've gotten kind of caught up into how good Tulane has been in recent years. Obviously with Willie Fritz and now with John Summerall. What if Tulane just completely falls off? It's a little bit different when Arkansas completely falls off. At least that's a conference game. But you're telling me that a non-conference P4, which, by the way, if you were to make that a permanent game, you would still need to schedule an out-of-conference P4 every single season. All right? So let's just say, Guitar George, that LSU and Tulane were to be permanents. And let's just say Tulane keeps John Summerall for the next decade, and they continue to be good. Well, they're eating up one of your precious non-conference games. Now, let me ask you this, Guitar George. What if the conference championship, or let's just say the conference schedule, goes from 8 to 9 games, and you develop a rivalry week game with Tulane? And then you still have to schedule an out-of-conference P4. Let's just say they keep that around. So what happens? Well, you only have one win. So what you end up doing is you hurt your team. You hurt the overall amount of losses that you can guarantee that you don't have. To bring back a rivalry where if you lose it, it's bad. But if you win it, well, it's because you were supposed to win it. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It just doesn't. Now, I have a lot of old school viewers who would say, we'll bring it back because it means a lot to the state of Louisiana.
but some things are meant to be kept buried. Now, I don't fear Tulane. Do I think we should still schedule them? Yeah. Were we very lucky to beat them in 07? You betcha. But do I think the Arkansas game should come back? Yes, I do. More so because Missouri would prefer their rivalry be Oklahoma. That game used to mean a lot. Okay. Emma Cat Smirk says Perk is a smaller version of Micah Parsons. John says Jacoby Stevens was a guy without a position for a minute. He was also a 5-star. Safety, wide receiver, tight end, back to wide receiver. Yeah, but part of his move to offense was because LSU was very thin at wide receiver, right? That had more to do, kind of like with Juwan Johnson, it had more to do with like depth instead of your permanent position. Cajun says lean Harold Perkins up and put him at star. Okay. And he is good in coverage. It might work. It might work. It might work. Alan says, I miss playing Auburn. I do too. But there's just some things that are just going to get, taken away. Alex says, Perk is Von Miller. Yeah. Perk is good. But Von Miller is top 5 pass rushers of this era? Let's go to General Grievous with the super chat. What's the chance if Ryan Day chokes in the playoffs? Does Joshua Downs transfer? I mean, he went there to chase a ring, right? Well, I don't know if Ohio State's going to get in. I really don't. Like, this Michigan team was bad. I mean, Michigan was missing their 2 best players. Will Johnson decided to load manage and not play in this game. Colston Loveland, I think also was like a 50-50 kind of thing, and he didn't decide to play. I don't think Michigan went into that game today thinking that they were even going to win. They're like, hey, we got our quarterback for the future, got our NIL in order, and then it happened. Okay. And Caleb Downs, the safety. Yes, he's worth the price. Like I really do mean this. If Ole Miss somehow gets into the field, I'm betting them. But at this point, I think South Carolina jumps them. I think it's wrong. But South Carolina has kind of become this sexy team. I just think it's wrong that if you have 2 teams with a similar resume, if one of those teams beat the other team 27-3 in your house, if it was a close game, sure, put South Carolina in there. But they blew you out. Ole Miss is yet to get blown out. And so far this season, even though Mississippi State game wasn't pretty, every single win has been by double digits. Ole Miss. Every single loss has been close. 1 possession. 3 points, 3 points, 7 points. Okay? Let's see here. South Carolina, what a performance. 3rd and 16, Lenore Sellers. Sometimes it comes down to just a dude making a play.
Clemson actually had a good defensive call. They had a QB spy. He just couldn't make the play. Samore says the end of the Major Burns era. Is he out of eligibility? I think so. Class of 2018 recruit. He should be. A class of 2020 recruit. Excuse me. Okay, let's take a look. Okay. Oh, man. Major Burns actually would have had another year. He played one game too many as a true freshman. Okay. He played one game too many. I mean, as a true freshman, as a redshirt freshman, he played one game too many. All right. If he would have played one game fewer, we could have had Major Burns back next season. Okay. But his snap count has gone down. Head says move Dominant McKinley to safety. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. God, this live chat's been lit. Let's go to LSU for life. West Weeks ain't that good. I don't know. Let's go to Brian. Strength of schedule has to matter. All right, let's have a conversation with this. The first thing is strength of schedule does not matter in the minds of the playoff committee. The current playoff committee, strength of schedule is a factor, but it's not a big factor. Losses are more important. They've told you that every year. Game control is something that they look at. So things like how did you play in the game? Then they look at like common opponents and stuff like that. Then straight to schedule kind of, connives its way in. But Brian, here's the problem with strength of schedule is it's a slippery slope. How do you judge strength of schedule? How do you do it? Do you judge strength of schedule based on Vegas spreads? Do you judge strength of schedule based on recruiting classes or NFL draft picks? But what if I was a Big 12 and I listened to Brian Champagne says strength of schedule has to matter? Well, if I'm the Big 12, I'm like, all right. Well, if strength of schedule matters, well, our schedule's the toughest. We play 9 conference games. You only play 8. So I can interpret strength of schedule as we actually not only play more conference games, it also opens up more conference diversity for those games. And then something else, Brian, to the strength of schedule metric, why it becomes a slippery slope is if I were to just judge everything on strength of schedule, I could say, well, how come the SEC strength of schedule is so daggum strong when we can't even agree on who the best teams are? You tell me right now, who are the best teams in the SEC? And how would we judge that? Tell me. Because I'll tell you this. I understand we get Texas and Georgia next week. But y'all, what Texas has faced is not even close to what Georgia has faced. It's not even close. It's not. Like, not even close. I'm sorry. So if you start saying, well, strength of schedule has to matter, well, how can we say that knowing that the SEC schedule itself is very imbalanced? Here's Cortland. Before today, Texas faced one SEC team with a winning record. But here's the funny thing, Cortland. You're leaving something out. You're leaving something out about this, Cortland. And Cortland, you've been watching me for a while. I'm going to give you an opportunity to see if you could figure it out, because I like to think of you as a smart person. Let's see if Cortland can figure it out. You're so close. You're so close. You're missing something else. And let's see if you can come to that conclusion. Okay? Tony, I'm not on chill mode, baby. I'm just kind of letting this alcohol flow through my system. Like I told you at halftime, I sober up pretty quickly. I do. Now I'll be up all night doing film studies. But I don't know why that's always been the case. I've never irresponsible, but I sober up pretty damn quickly. It could just be that I'm going straight into doing a post-game show, but it's whatever. All right. Let's see if Cortland got it. Sibley, I know you had fun tonight. Okay. But here's what Cortland missed. And this is going to anger a lot of my viewers. So since we're about an hour and 7 in, I'm going to walk you through my day today. All right. So I'll get to what I did this morning. But first, I went to a restaurant called Chimes. And if you're an LSU fan that's ever been to Baton Rouge, you got to go to Chimes. So I went to Chimes on campus, met with one of our top supporters, Kevin. And I had a few drinks with him, and we watched the end of the Clemson, South Carolina game and the Michigan, Ohio State game together. Kevin's one of my really good friends. We become besties. Then I went next door to the Rivalry. The owners are great. Alex, Chris, Rob Owens, those guys. Good to see them. Good to catch up with them. And then I went and met up with Branson Cat, another one of the big PHL viewers. And then after that, I went to the Indian Mounds, which is some tailgates there. Went to go to another tailgate, the podcast Tig Bits. And there I met with 7 Brew Coffee. I like 7 Brew Coffee a lot. Okay. But you want to know what I did this morning? I actually cut a film study. So I set up here for the post-game show. I actually got here really early, tested the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi was super fast. I swear to God. You guys saw it too. I don't know if you guys saw it. Our Wi-Fi speed was 220 megabits per second, which is really fast. I have no idea why it was what it was. And I couldn't use all this setup. And I got all this bourbon behind me. Who here has had Blade Boy? Blade and Bow. I'm still trying to see if Cortland can pick this up. What is Buffalo Trace? Okay. Larceny. Old Elk. Elijah Craig. Anyone ever heard of this? Jack Daniels. Wi-Fi is lagging. That's okay. Snuck it to Moscona's place. That was last year. I didn't have a vodka cranberry today. I only drank beer today. I took a few shots at Rivalry. Okay. Now, here's the thing that Pierce is leaving out. I say Pierce. Cortland left out of the Texas conversation when it comes to strength of schedule. There's another team in the SEC today that locked in their playoff slot. And that was Tennessee. Now, why is that going to anger a lot of you? Well, some of you watch Power Hour SEC, and this morning I cut a Tennessee film study. Yes, I cut a Tennessee Volunteers film study. And like Alabama, Vanderbilt jumped out to a 14-0 lead at home. But unlike Alabama, Tennessee was able to pull off the comeback. Now, Josh Heupel is someone that I love. But everything, like Cortland said a minute ago about Texas, you can basically apply to Tennessee. Everything. Like Texas, Tennessee played a weaker out-of-conference game. They played NC State, who ended up not being good. All right. Like Texas, Tennessee avoided all the good teams. Go take a look at Tennessee's schedule this season. Every single team that they played, outside of Georgia and a few others, have losing conference records. I will tell you this. As much as people make fun of Texas's schedule this year, preseason, Texas A&M had the second easiest schedule. Missouri had the easiest schedule. LSU had the third easiest schedule on my power rankings. But soon after that was Texas and Tennessee. And what happened? They got into the playoff. Okay? They got into the playoff. So the truth is, Tennessee, everything you said about Texas applies to Tennessee. Let's go through their conference schedule. Let's just go through their schedule. All right. Tennessee this season. North Carolina State. Then they played at Oklahoma. You saw what they look like tonight. Then Tennessee, after a bye week, at Arkansas, they lost. Then Tennessee welcomed the Florida Gators to Knoxville. They beat Florida 23-17. Florida had a chance to win that game. Then Tennessee played Alabama at home.
Alabama, a 3-loss team. Then after that, Tennessee played Kentucky, bottom 3 SEC team. They played Mississippi State, bottom 3 SEC team. Then they played at Georgia, where they lost by 14. They played valiantly, though. That game was closer than that score indicates. And then they played Vanderbilt today. So Tennessee didn't have to play LSU. Didn't have to play Ole Miss. Tennessee this year didn't have to play South Carolina. Tennessee this year didn't have to play Texas. Now, I will say strength of schedules change. I just give my best educated guesses on who schedules. I use a lot of different things instead of just a team strength. I look at bye weeks. I look at home game placement, all those different things. The one thing I would say about Texas is they had to go to Michigan in their out-of-conference game. They couldn't control that Michigan had their worst season in a very long time. You know, there's no way they could have predicted that Harbaugh would have left by then. Okay? When Tennessee scheduled NC State, that's not the same as when Texas scheduled whatever. Now, I'll tell you this. Tennessee is my number 2 team in the SEC. It's my second favorite team because I'm a Heupel believer. I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan. But, you know, this is why, you know, what Brian said, strength of schedule should matter. I'm sorry. I'm not going to just make everything with this college football playoff be the SEC Invitational. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. It honestly makes no sense. It hurts you more than it helps you. Okay? I don't want LSU to get into a future playoff with 4 losses just for the sake of them having a brutal schedule. No, don't lose 4 games. How about that? So, what does the college football season mean? I will say it once and I'll say it again. College football, with the way the schedule is structured, it's all about avoiding losing. That's it. That's it. It's all about avoiding losing. Here's Sibley. Just wins are important. And he's basically saying the same thing. You don't get any and look, USC, did they end up losing tonight? I think that they did. I mean, make quadruple sure. USC wasn't that bad of a team this year. They lost a lot of close games. Let's see here. Why isn't the USC score here? Notre Dame won. Okay. Final score tonight, 49-35. USC was a better 6-6 team. Okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can. If you're just now joining us and you want to talk more about tonight's game, I will happily do it. Let me ask you this. I want you to give me, even if you don't believe he should come back, give me your best argument for Joe Sloan to come back next season. Okay? Leon, I'm sorry about what happened to you guys today. It's kind of crazy. Miami came back versus everyone, and now they can't come back. Let's go to Jason. Why didn't you text me today, bro? You knew I was here. I know you're with the little cash man. Shout out to you. Was in section 242. Aaron Anderson is a dog. Nuss is a warrior. And every one of the freshmen will be absolute studs. Yeah, let's talk about Aaron Anderson. Y'all, I like to be open. I was just totally wrong on him this year. I thought he was going to be a good player. I thought he could be a good role player. But I thought with the way the wide receiver room was structured, with Chris Hilton being there, he wasn't going to find his way forward in the depth chart. Thought Xavier Thomas would just outproduce him. Not only has Aaron lapped him in that aspect, he returned a kick before Xavier Thomas returned a kick for a touchdown. Now, I will say now more than ever, punt returns and kickoff returns just aren't really a thing because of, high touchback percentage. But look, Aaron Anderson put together one of the more surprising LSU wide receiver seasons one could remember. But he did do some really good things last year, right? So Aaron Anderson is so freaking good, okay? And look, let's give Garrett Nussmeier a lot of credit. Coming back into the game, fighting through the injury, he gained a lot of respect running for that first down after the injury. Now, I do believe he had the right amount of yardage to pick up the first down there. We're still able to pick up the first down regardless on the fourth down. But the fact that Garrett Nussmeier fought through it was really good. Let's talk about the freshmen tonight. Dominic McKinley was really good tonight. What a performance. Devon Keys was phenomenal as well. Ahmad Bro. Even though Ahmad Bro's not really done anything like spectacular, the fact that he has been a heavy rotation player from game 2 all the way basically till the end of the season is amazing. And Gabriel Relaford, love Gabe. Love him. Is also going to be a really good player. Let's go to Leighton Andrews. He's making the case for Joe Sloan. He said Joe Sloan should take no blame for Underwood. And he's a good QB coach and recruiter. That is true. He is a good QB coach. And he is a good recruiter. All right. Here's where I would push back, though. All right. I think being a good recruiter as a coach, if that is your biggest selling point, it doesn't matter. Until all salaries are basically equal and everyone feels like with revenue sharing it's going to equal itself out. But until everything gets reined in, the highest bidder is always going to reign supreme, more often than not. So being a quote-unquote good recruiter, come on. Because look, do you know how many times Joe Sloan flew up to Michigan? It was a lot. So think about this, right? Joe Sloan, first off, got the commitment of Bryce Underwood, which is a commitment we rarely get, right? We get really good commitments, but rarely is it the 5-star can't miss quarterback. So we get that commitment. And Bryce Underwood, all the way up to the Alabama game. All the way up to the Alabama game. Not only came to LSU, was wearing Dreamathon personalized clothing. Was signing LSU Funko Pops. Signed my LSU t-shirt. And at the very last second, the highest bidder wins. Now, is that an extreme example? Well, for him, maybe because of the amount of money involved. But is it really too extreme? It's not. Do you think Dominic Williams just magically said, hey, I would rather play at Oklahoma than LSU? Do you think Simeon Barrow said basically the same thing? Show me the money. Big Dex. Let's go, bro. Text me tomorrow, Dex. Let's get together. Yeah, I don't know, Pegasus. Sage Ryan had a cryptic post as well. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Do you think Sage Ryan comes back next season? Let me ask you this. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Do you want Sage Ryan to come back next year? Okay. Did you go tonight, Dex? I'm going to be mad if you did and you didn't text me. Actually, I should have texted you. So that's on me. Aaron Anderson mentioned it was his last game. Luke Carnesecca died today. St. John's coach. Luke Carnesecca. Kato Durham tweeted out, real personal. Okay. Yeah, I still should have texted you, though. Amacat, please. Don't ever reduce good defensive tackle play for a couple of sacks. Okay. Now, has he been like Walter Nolan level good? No. He's still good. Very good. I will say Aaron Anderson is a really good fit with Garrett Nussmeier, who's not really the best deep ball thrower. Tonight he was really good. But obviously Garrett's a really good intermediate thrower, really good over the middle, and that's where Aaron feasts. Okay. I'd love to see that bullfrog, but we'll see. So we'll take a few more before we skedaddle here. I don't mind going all night. I really don't. But this internet is not really cooperating. That's okay. We'll be back at Better Than Ever tomorrow with the film study. Let's see here. All right. Once again, what did I say for so long? Why do I want a 9-game conference schedule? Schedule and balance. All right. I thought with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, it would be better for schedule equity. It's gotten worse. Once again, Texas, SEC championship game, didn't play Tennessee, didn't play Alabama, didn't play LSU, didn't play Ole Miss, didn't play South Carolina, didn't play Missouri. Yeah, I'm not worried about Derek Meadows at this point. Let's keep it going. General Grievous says, do I think Shelton Sampson will stay or transfer? I don't know. I honestly, like, as far as his development at LSU, it just depends on what the guys ahead of him are going to do. But if you would have told me, looking at his high school tape, that after 2 seasons he would not have caught a single pass, not a screen, not a whip, not anything, I would think you were crazy. And he played. I mean, he got opportunities. So, I would say it's 50-50 at this point. I would. If Kyron leaves, sure. I think Chris Hilton is very interesting because him and Shelton are similar players in many ways, but Bullfrog says if this offensive line returned, they'd be winning a championship. Well, Delhi's going. He doesn't have any eligibility left. At least I don't think so. It's kind of hard with the COVID year, but he was a 2021 guy, so he didn't have a COVID year. Let's see. Really, the only way you can look at this is via PFF. Let's go here. I don't know. By the way, my game grades will be up right after this. I'll stay quiet on Jacoby Matthews. I don't want to put the cart before the horse there. Okay. I do get a text here saying that Thanos. Here's my thing. The fact that Thanos decided to not go to Ohio State today, I think says a lot. I do like, look, there's no way LSU's not going to make some kind of push here. Even if they, let's just say Thanos' thing comes down to a price. Let's just say Thanos' thing is we need to pay him more. Well, I think from a PR standpoint, LSU just can't let him go without a very public fight. So I get a text from one of my main recruiting guys here, and he says LSU's pushing. And I know some of you are like, well, duh. Well, many feel the USC thing is just a done deal. I don't know. Once again, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep tonight knowing that the quality of the stream sucked. That's just how anal I am about this stuff. Huh? Oh, man. This is all I think about is doing sports media. Brian Kelly's viral quote: "We're taking receipts and we'll see you at the national championship. This team's building." No, my camera's not overheating. I'm actually just using my phone. But yeah, trust me, I'm not happy about it. But yeah, that's just about it for me. Once again, let's go through some of the super chats here. Grievous, Jason, Guitar George, Rai, Jordan, Yusha, appreciate that. Michael, our top post-game super chat, halftime top super chatter of the evening was John Sibley Butler. Bullfrog says, what if Dylan Stewart entered the portal? Well, he would replace Kyron Lacey for the guy who likes to celebrate with an air gun. It's always good because that means you're a real playmaker if you celebrate that boldly. Okay? That's all there is to it. That means you're a real playmaker. Mm. Oh, NC State got in a fight. Let's go. I mean, hell, there's nothing else to play for. And that's funny. Mm. Huge. Ohio State's the best job in the country. Yeah, I heard that right. It's the best job in the country. I think LSU's top 5 job. No worse than top 10. But Ohio State is the number 1 job in the country. They get it. They can get anyone they want. Get anybody they want. Anybody? There's a lot of coaches that will leave for that job. A lot. A lot. All right, y'all. It is. Pow. Out. LSU. Boom. Shout out to you, Garrett Nussmeier. Shout out to all the LSU Tigers that played their last game tonight. Shout out. We got the dub. We could talk all we want about the future and how Oklahoma's not really that freaking good. We got the mother effing dub. And that's all that freaking matters. That is all that freaking matters. Don't give a damn. Oklahoma shit. I don't give a damn. You heard that right. I don't give a mother effing damn. I don't give a Hoover damn. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. We deserve the W today. A good 4-quarter ass whooping in front of a Tiger Stadium crowd with Patrick freaking Peterson, the GOAT, in the audience. Kevin Minter in the audience. Let's freaking go. Let's go. Proud of these guys. Proud of DJ Chester. Proud of all the players I've been critical of. Chris Hilton. Glad they answered the call. Glad they went out there and took care of business. Silenced the doubters. Silenced the haters. Love to see it. Freaking love to see it. Let's go. By the way, I'm in Baton Rouge till Monday. If you guys want to hang out, let me know.